Hello everybody, are you enjoying this new series of short, informal, conversational style videos here on the channel? Because I am. So if you are too, please do comment below and tell me if you like them or not, because I'd really like to continue them and basically use them as a way of not so much filling gaps on the channel, but discussing things which can't really be done in any other way, you know, that don't fit really in the context of reviews and things like that. So where I see interesting topics, car related of course, I'll be trying to make videos like this throughout the year. Now, one such topic came up in conversation between myself and an old friend yesterday. We were having a lovely lunch at the Bird in Hand, a pub owned by my friend Alex Brake. If you're in the sort of Norfolk area near Norwich, or particularly near the Lotus factory at Hethel, highly recommend it. Really cool place, proper old English pub. But by the by, the topic of cars came up as it always does, and the topic of a British car company came up. Not Lotus, not McLaren, but TVR. He said to me, "Have you heard anything about TVR?" And I thought, I'm not sure I have really. I'll go and do some digging, see what's going on, because everyone heard lots and lots from them a few years ago, and then they all sort of seemed to go quiet. So I thought, well, there must have been some updates recently, because in early 2019 they said they were having some issues with their factory. TVR are currently part owned by the Welsh government. Being part government owned means that they are subject to a few extra kind of regulatory quirks. And the one that they encountered, so they said, was the fact that building this new factory in the Ebwy Valley in Wales, because Wales is part of the EU and because they're getting government money, the factory has to basically put the contract out to tender across the whole of the EU to build the factory. So that had been apparently slowing things down a little bit. And since then, I couldn't think that I'd heard anything. So I thought, okay, I'll pop on their website, pop on their social media, and see what they're doing, what they're up to. And that's when I found it. Nothing. There is absolutely nothing. The website in particular is quite depressing. Their last posting is from August 2018. And interestingly, that post says there is no smoke without fire. And I cannot see any smoke in Wales at the moment. It's a little bit worrying. TVR, for a company that made their reputation as being the noisiest car guys around, are unusually quiet. Now, anybody that works in the car industry knows that social media these days is incredibly important, especially if you are a new young upstart. I mean, a few years ago, I was supposed to be working with Xenos. I was very excited about this because it was due to be my first proper official factory gig. And right up until about 2 weeks before they shut shop, I was still in contact with them. They were still doing stuff. They were still talking about future models, plans, all that sort of stuff, even when they themselves knew that they were totally boned. TVR have said nothing. Their last Twitter post was last year. Their last Instagram post was something about the Le Mans team they sponsored in September. It's kind of worrying. They're being awfully quiet. There's just nothing out there. I mean, when you've got a new car coming out, when the last pieces of news from TVR said that they were going to be delivering cars hopefully in the first half of 2020. So we're now in the first half of 2020. And if cars are going to be coming out those factory gates soon, well, you'd think they'd be talking about it nearly non-stop, but they aren't saying anything. And that is incredibly worrying. I mean, even in, let's say, the hypercar world, these manufacturers are all over social media because they know that it's important that their cars are desirable. And that includes making them desirable to people that will probably never ever be able to afford them. I mean, let's face it. Have you looked at stuff like Pagani's, Koenigsegg's? I mean, they're pretty common cars in this sort of hypercar land. Even other weird stuff, like, for example, the new De Tomaso, which my friend GF Williams did some amazing photos of. We know about those cars, even though I'm probably unlikely to ever see one in the flesh, let alone drive one. But the new TVR is supposed to be this kind of salt of the earth, you know, back to basics, cool, nice, affordable car for the masses. Well, I nearly put a deposit down on one of these in about 2016 before I bought my Lotus Evora, but I didn't because I had no idea when it'd be out, how much it'd cost, what it'd look like, what the specs were, or anything else. And let's face it, that means you basically know nothing. So essentially I'd have been waving $5,000 goodbye for an indeterminate amount of time. I know a few people that put deposits down. I mean, people like Shmi put deposits down. You know, he put his down, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. There's one car that's been made by Les Edgar who, when he announced that he was going to be taking over TVR and reviving the brand, I was so happy because I'm such a TVR fan. Absolutely love their old cars. I mean, look, the company had a lot of faults, never going to pretend that they didn't, but they also made some amazing creations, and Les is the sort of guy that you want running a company like TVR. He's genuinely passionate. He's a real proper petrol head. That, and he used to run a company called Bullfrog, and I loved Magic Carpet 2 back in the day. So that was all cool, really exciting. But since then, you know, you've got people like Gordon Murray on board. Again, big name, interesting, exciting. You think, how can it fail? I did always have this worry. I mean, when they eventually released pictures of the car, I looked at it and I wasn't hugely taken by it. I still have yet to see one in the plastic, as it were. But maybe it'll look a bit better there. But some angles look good, some don't. You know, I'm not too fast. Sure, it sounds great. I'm sure it's pretty quick. You know, Gordon's not really known for putting out duff cars. I'm sure the new process is quite interesting and exciting, but they've been taking a long time. And a couple of things had concerned me previously. Number one was, if the cars go out and they're not quite ready and they start breaking, that'll be the end of them. Because TVR already have probably one of the worst reputations ever in terms of reliability. If you currently own a TVR and you're telling me how wonderful and reliable it is, that's great. But the car's at least 15 years old, so I suspect it probably had a couple of issues sorted in the last decade and a half. And so if TVRs went out the factory gates and were starting to be kind of unreliable, everyone would go, look, guess what, TVR, just the same as they always were, they're rubbish, they're awful, and they're just not good enough. The other thing that I was concerned for is what I might term NSX Syndrome. Honda previewed their new NSX, or the Acura in some territories as it's known, quite a few years ago. About 7 or 8 years ago. Thanks, emails. And the problem is that the concept and the real deal look basically identical. Great, because they're both good-looking cars. I love the look of the new NSX. Haven't driven one yet, though, but I'm trying to fix that. And I think by the time it came out, it felt like an old car because everyone's got so familiar with the shape, and that was my worry with the TVR. We've been looking at it for 3 years. So when it came out, I thought people are just going to look at it and go, oh yeah, it's the old car. That, and you've now got the new Corvette C8, which is potentially going to come to the UK if they can ever get their act together, and that would create some serious problems for TVR buyers, I think. But now, having looked at all of this and seen a total lack of communication from them, I'm kind of worried that they're not even going to get that far. So if anybody out there has any idea about what's going on, because I looked for TVR related news and they themselves have put out nothing. And right now, if I was a company about to release a brand new car, I would be on social media every single day. I definitely wouldn't have taken a near total absence for over 3 months, because that just doesn't seem right. What are your thoughts? Let me know. Thanks for watching.